Alright folks, hang on. We're going to go for a big hairy ride here to get the Axiom 61 to control reason. Definitely takes a few seconds to get your mind around, but let's do it one step at a time, and in the end we'll be happy campers. First step you need to do is to go to the M Audio website, and from there we're going to go to the support section and drivers and updates. We'll select it, keyboard series, Axiom 61, in our case Mac 10410, and scroll down to the bottom of the screen. You can see we've got down here M Audio Reason Control Surface V7. That's what we want. So here it is. There's a bunch of mumbo jumbo, and then we'll download it. It's not a bunch of mumbo jumbo. It's a nice little survey that you can download while your file is downloading, or fill out while you're downloading, but we're not going to today. Alright, so we'll hide that, go back to our desktop, and here it is. We'll unzip it and run the installer. Welcome to the Mac installer program. Similar thing on Windows. You run through this thing and upgrade. Type in our password. There it is. That was it. Nothing seemed to happen. But what did happen was, into Reason's devices folder, a file was placed that will teach Reason to recognize your Axiom 61 when you load it. I'm going to quit Enigma at this point because for some reason Enigma sending system messages back and forth to the Axiom and Reason doing it causes problems. So goodbye to that. Let's launch Reason. Now, the first time you load Reason, it's going to say you don't have any control surfaces, but since I've already loaded this, we're going to delete it and start over here. So I'm going to click on the Axiom and delete it. Here's what will happen when you first plug in your Axiom. You have auto-detecting control surfaces going on. Preset 10 on the Axiom will be overwritten. Do you want to continue? We already learned about presets, and what's going to happen here is Reason's going to send its favorite controller information to the Axiom. On the front panel of the Axiom, it says sys for a second, and there it is. Once that's set up, we're ready to go. We can press play, and our piece will start to play. Pretty cool. Let's get rid of this demo piece for copyright reasons, and we'll load something else. I think I got something here we can listen to. All right. And then our transport control works. Let's lower the volume of that thing. All right. Once you've loaded the Reason preset, there's a few things you need to know. The Axiom isn't going to tell you what's changed on its front panel, so you kind of need to know. The transport controls, they just make sense. They do what the transport controls do in Reason. The loop button turns the loop feature on and off in software, as you can see. It's pretty cool. And rewinding, is a little bit tricky in Reason. This is just jumping a bar at a time, the fast forward and rewind. When you press stop in Reason, the first time it jumps back to the loop start marker, and the second time you hit it, it jumps back to the beginning of the song. That's something you need to know about Reason, not about the control surface, but that's your skip to the beginning or return to zero kind of command, is to hit stop twice. Another thing you need to know is the way that the Axiom works with Reason is it's module specific. So if we're on the transport's controlled. Fortunately, the transport works on everything else, but if we head out here to synth pad, for example, a subtractor, we've selected that in our sequencer. Now the knobs will control subtractor. There's a subtractor playing. We want to increase its volume, slider 9. If we want to change the filter cutoff, slider 1. Wait, slider. Guess that'd be slider 5. And the resonance. The mappings are per device. So if I select a device like the synth pad here, and play that thing. I can start to fiddle some controls, like slider 9 is almost always volume. That's the output volume of that module. And then, in this case, slider 5, or drawbar 5, is filter cutoff. Slider 6, resonance. Slider 1 is amplitude ADSR. I could do a fade in or fast attack. That's how the controls are mapped. Synths that have lots of pages of controls, you could page between them by selecting the group D or the unlabeled button number 9. So as you go back and forth between those, you can bank between a ton of commands on the really big modules. This isn't one of those though. And then buttons B and C on the front, move to the next and previous instrument in your sequencer. So you can see I'm jumping up and down here. So if I move to heavy drums, I can play those. I can even play those on the pads. Now you may say to yourself, I want to do some mixing using the drawbar sliders as faders in the mixer. But I don't see a mixer here in the sequencer. And that's true, and reason for that doesn't come up automatically. You have to add it. We have to click on the mixer, and we'll go ahead and create a track for that, for mixer 1. Now in our sequencer we have a track, and once we have a track, then the sliders will do something. You can see slider number 1 does track number 1, etc. All the way up to slider 9 is always the master volume, all the way up to these sliders here. And then we can go to the bank control and just bank to the next bank of them. So D and blank here are the bank up and down controls. Bank 1, bank 2. That's how it works. If I press play, that's pretty cool stuff. You can control the mixer. Something bad happened though. Since we banked into the mixer is kind of a dead end for the cool B and C button trick of moving up and down your instruments in the sequencer, because those commands are used for mutes. You can see I'm muting channels, what are the 6 and 7 there in the mixer. You have some cool muting you can do here, but unfortunately that wiped out our little feature there. So you could remap that feature if you wanted to yourself, but in this default mapping, maybe that's even a bug, I don't know. You can't zip up and down on your instruments. So you got to grab the mouse, and then the B and C commands will let you move, as long as you don't dead end into the mixer again. So I like to put the mixer kind of off to the side there where he's out of the way. Then I can zip in and out of my different synths. While we're here, you might want to know how to change one of the drum pads, for example. So if we go to the heavy drums preset, where are they? They're down here somewhere. Let's go up to our mixer without it being a dead end. Give ourselves some more volume, and we'll go back to the heavy drums. You can hear those sound cool, but I'd like to be able to play them. I'd like to, instead of this snare, I'd like to have a crash. How do I do that? Well, there's a few different ways to do it, but probably the easiest way to do it is just to go on the front panel of the Axiom. We have a button down at the far lower left labeled Data 1. I'm going to press Data 1, and a little note icon flashes in the screen. I'm going to press my pad, and then I'm going to use the plus and minus buttons to select a crash symbol. There we go. Now I've got a crash on the pad that I want, so I can play. Pretty sweet. If I like that preset, by the way, and I want to keep that, I need to go to the Enigma software and load that into my user bank from the Axiom surface or from its brain into the Enigma and save it into my user bank. Otherwise, it'll be lost if I load something else later on. So that's how you get the Axiom to control reason. A few steps to get it going and a few things to learn, but once you get there, it's pretty cute.